What's up, folks? Welcome back to the Sutton Copywriting channel. And in today's video, we're going to be going over the simplest high converting advertorial template for you to use for your ecom brand. And one of the reasons that I wanted to create this video is because I think a lot of the times when people look at high converting advertorials out there in the wild, they end up reading in between the sections and they feel a little bit overwhelmed, and they might make actually writing the advertorial more complicated than it needs to be. But when you look at it as a overall structure and a template, you can see that most of the ones that are scaling and doing extremely well on cold traffic follow this exact same template and structure. So I wanted to go ahead and explain why this structure works so well. I wanted to give you guys an idea of the basic length that it could be, and then make sure that you stick around for point number 3, which is where we're going to be getting into actually breaking down this template and structure section by section, giving you bullets, telling you exactly what should be included in this. So it should be very simple for you to go away with these notes and be able to know exactly how an advertorial should look and what sections will include what specific points. So let's go ahead and dive into the actual meat and potatoes of today's video. Now, why do so many high converting advertorials use this structure? The biggest reason is because it just plain works. You know, everybody in the industry will kind of swipe each other. And sometimes swiping means that, unfortunately, folks will swipe a advertorial word for word, but more importantly, people will look at the structure and be able to tell why it works. So the structure that we're going to be looking at today is something that's based on a lot of other people split testing it and putting money behind it, and that's their biggest winner that they're putting a large amount of their ad spend behind. So we get to be the beneficiary of a lot of other people doing a lot of split testing to find out what works, and then we look at it almost as a template and have the ability to slot in whatever product it is that you want to write this advertorial for. Now, the other part is that these should not be something that takes a really long time to write. So when you have a template or you have a structure that you can follow and you know exactly what needs to go in each section, it makes it extremely simple to write. There's not a lot of guesswork. You know, once you nail the headline, the angle, and the core desire that you're going after, you can really just kind of treat it like Lego pieces the way that you put this advertorial structure together. And it also allows you to just switch out certain parts to split test angles and core desires and benefits and things like that. So because you know that the structure is proven and that it's something that has scaled for a lot of other people, really it allows you to do a lot of split testing. If a certain part isn't working, you just swap that out because you know the other parts of it are proven. Maybe you need to beef up the benefits, you need to make the lead a little punchier, but it makes it really easy to split test because if you treat this like, you know, a bunch of Legos that fit together, you can just pop off one Lego piece and put another one right on. Also, with this style, it's way easier for designers to create them. So they can be very quick with how they go ahead and design the advertorial for you. And then if you nail the structure and core desire and the right angle, you're going to be better off than most other people, is the truth of using this. So at the end of the day, that's a big part of the reason that I wanted to create this video is you obviously have to find out the core desire. You need to find the right angle that you know that your audience really wants. So the one thing that I can give you to give you a leg up on other people is the structure and the template to use. And that's what today's video is obviously about. One caveat is that this is not for comparison or comparison advertorials or listicles because they follow a completely different structure that doesn't have a lot of the elements we're going to be going into. So just know ahead of time, this is not a fit for comparison advertorials or for listicles either. And then these are typically going to be somewhere between 800 to 1500 words. Usually you'll find yourself right around the 900 to 1100 word range, and which is significantly shorter than a text sales letter or a video sales letter or anything along those lines. But when you see all the different elements that go into this and how much of it is kind of like reiterating benefits and different parts of something you've spoken about earlier, you're going to recognize that those 900 to 1100 words really isn't all that intimidating when we get into looking at the template of this all. So let's go ahead and dive into the actual structure itself so that you can start to understand. Obviously, I've spoken about this a lot, but the very first thing that we have to nail is our headline. We want to make sure that it grabs immediate attention and it uses curiosity, urgency, and a bold claim about a benefit that they're going to get from reading this advertorial. We want it to feel like editorial content, so avoid overly salesy language while still keeping it really exciting and intriguing and curiosity-provoking for the person. We want to make sure that in the headline, we are promising a clear benefit. People are reading everything that we put out with a what's in it for me mindset. So we want to make the reader feel like they're going to learn something that's highly valuable in the headline itself. So once we get them past the headline and they keep scrolling, the next thing they're going to see is the hero image. And this is something that I feel like a lot of people really neglect. Your hero image is one of the top 3 things that is really above the fold that can have a massive impact on somebody choosing to read or to bounce from your advertorial. So making sure that you put a lot of effort into the hero image is really low-hanging fruit that I feel like not enough people really concentrate on. So with this hero image, you want to make sure that it visually reinforces the message that you have in the advertorial. Make sure that it matches the topic and creates an emotional pull. So this could be the product in use, it could be somebody in pain, it could be the transformation with a split image where you see, the person in pain on the left, and then on the right is the core desire that they have without the pain point, living their best life. Things along those lines are what you want to think about when it comes to visually reinforcing the message of the advertorial in the hero image. You want to make sure that it looks organic and authentic. Avoid images that immediately make it look like an ad. That's one of the things is that we're really kind of trying to bury and hide a little bit of the sales message in the advertorial. So make sure that the images don't immediately look like something that's an ad. Make it look like it's a organic image that could be in a regular editorial piece of content or a blog or something like that. And we want to make sure that we encourage the scrolling by making the reader curious and rehooking their attention with the image. So another one that I see a lot that people use, it's great, is you will see the product itself, and then you'll see kind of a zoom in or a zoom out bubble where it'll have like molecules or it'll have something that's very engaging and intriguing. So just make sure that no matter what kind of hero image you use, it visually reinforces the message and matches the topic to create an emotional pull. Make sure that it doesn't look like an ad, and make sure that it's actually something that looks good and is engaging and will rehook their attention and keep them curious. So after we get past the hero image, we're going to be diving into the lead, which is, in my opinion, the most important piece of the copy. Because if you can't get anybody, most important piece of the body copy, let me be clear about that. I don't want people to think that I'm prioritizing the lead over the headline. That would be dumb. But the lead is the most important piece of the body copy in an advertorial, because if we can't get them past the lead, we can't get them to the sales message to make the offer and put the product in front of them. So you really want to make sure that your leads are dialed in. And so these are the things that we want to make sure are in a lead to get them into the actual transition to the product and the UMS. So we want to make sure that we hook the reader's attention immediately. Start with a compelling fact, a story, or a question that is going to immediately grab their attention. We want to make sure that we keep the lead engaging and not salesy. So we want to focus on the problem and tease at the solution and not go right in for the kill by mentioning the product too soon. That kills the lead. It takes away all of the curiosity that they have. And then at the end of the lead, we're going to transition smoothly into either the product or the unique mechanism of the solution. So a lot of the times they will start to transition right into the product, which is totally fine, because by this point, the person's very engaged. They've gotten past the headline, the hero image, they've read past the lead. So at this point, it is okay to transition into the product. But if it's something that does require a little bit more explanation, that's where I would transition into the unique mechanism of the solution. And then below that section, I would go ahead and put the product introduction. So I would have the unique mechanism of the solution to describe that, hey, this is the thing that solves that problem you've been dealing with. Here's why it solves that. And by the way, this product is the only way to get that. So that's how you kind of would have a little bit of a difference there. You can go right into the product, but if the UMS requires a bit more explanation, that's where you transition into the UMS and then you transition into the product. Either way is totally fine. It just depends on your product and how simple and easy to understand it really is. So then we get into what is it, which is just essentially explaining what the product is in very simple terms. This does not need to be complicated. You don't want to use any kind of jargon or complicated descriptions. You want to keep it as simple as possible so it's really easy for the person to understand exactly what the product is. You want to frame it as a new and innovative or unique product. So we want to highlight the unique mechanism of the solution and give a light dusting of like the benefits they're going to get. So we're going to talk about how it's unique, how it's different, and how it's going to make their life simpler, easier, and better is really what it comes down to. And then from there, we just want to make sure that we're piquing their curiosity. We want to leave the reader questioning, well, how does it work? Like, I know what it is now, but like, how exactly does this work? So when we get into the how it works section, what we're going to be doing is breaking down how to use it in 3 to 4 simple steps. Keep it digestible, really easy to follow. The big thing here is we want to reinforce how simple and easy to use the product is. People want simple and easy, so make sure you give them that. Make it seem really easy to use in step 1, step 2, step 3. And then a big part of this all is before you get into the steps, what I typically like to do, and I should have honestly put this above, breaks it down into 3 to 4 simple steps, is I like to talk about the unique mechanism of the solution a little bit for probably 2 to 3 sentences. And then I get into the step 1, step 2, step 3. And then from there, the entire how it works section is pretty much done. That's all you have to do. So you just need to lightly mention and remind them of the unique mechanism of the solution. Hit them with step 1, you're going to do this. Step 2, you're going to do this. Step 3, you're going to do this. And in each one of those steps, weave in a little bit of a benefit of those steps so that they understand that even though this thing is super simple, easy to use, each step in using it is going to provide some kind of benefit for them. Then from there, we're going to get into just bulleted benefits. A lot of the times you'll see in advertorials, these don't have to be fancy. They can literally just be bullets, and you'll typically have about 5 to 7 of them. So one of the big things here is turn benefits into features. Talk about what the feature does for them. This is the benefit. I see people kind of mess this up a lot, and it's something that I know will typically hurt the conversions of an advertorial. Is like, people don't give a shit about the features. They care about what those features do for them. So talk about it from the perspective of how it is going to help them. Talk about, what it does for them, not what it is typically. That's a big part of it all. And make sure to nail and understand what the reader really wants from a product like this. Because if you don't understand what they want, if you don't really get the core desire that they have and the pain point that they want to resolve, then you're going to miss the mark on the benefits, and it's going to turn them off more than it's going to turn them into somebody who is a new customer. So make sure that you nail and understand what they really want from a product like this, and also make sure you understand what they don't want from a product like this. And what I mean by that is, in doing your research for an advertorial, look at competitors, look at what other people are saying that they don't like about those competitors' products and the things that they didn't enjoy about the process or using the product, and then make sure that you are mentioning that you don't have those things or that yours doesn't have that. So like, let's say for a supplement, just for the sake of simplicity, it's like, some supplements are going to be really massive pills and people don't like that. So you might mention in this small, really easy to swallow capsule, XYZ happens, right? So that's an easy way to separate yourself, make sure that you're overcoming that objection and letting them know that you are not like everybody else and yours is different and better. You're also going to highlight the emotional and practical advantages of your product. So not just what it does, but how does it make their life better? Think about it from that perspective. It's like people who want to either lose fat or get more muscle or have more energy throughout the day, they don't just want to have, more energy, more muscle, and less fat. There's a reason that they want those things. If somebody wants to have more energy, maybe they want to be able to play with their kids, or they want to be able to go to the gym and not feel exhausted. If they want to have more muscle, maybe it's because they want to make sure that they're aging gracefully and don't have to end up in like a retirement home. If somebody wants to lose fat, maybe there's clothes they want to fit in. So don't just talk about what it does, talk about how it's going to make their life better. And this is where your research and really understanding the customer comes in. Next, this section is going to be pretty straightforward, but it's just going to be our social proof and our customer testimonials. So we're going to show real people using and loving the product. We want to make sure it feels authentic. We want to address common objections in these testimonials. So provide reassurance through the customer experiences, the customer testimonials, and the social proof that we're using that overcomes those objections and skepticism. So a lot of the times when it comes to testimonials, the ones that I like to use are the ones where people start off skeptical and then become a believer. Those are absolute gold, because a lot of the times in today's modern day and age, people are really highly skeptical. They do have a part of their brain that has been tricked before when trying to resolve this issue. So I like to personally use the testimonials where the person starts off skeptical and then becomes a true believer and a rabid fan after using the product. And then we're going to make sure that the testimonials are from people like them. This is something that I see a lot of people kind of mess up, where they will have a product that is either clearly for men or clearly for women. And then when you look at their testimonials, let's say it's an advertorial geared towards women, they have 5 testimonials, 3 of them are from guys. That just doesn't make sense. So make sure that whatever testimonials you're using are from people that are like them. People want to see others just like them getting results, because then it allows them to imagine themselves in those people's shoes. The next part is kind of wrapping everything up. Where do you buy it, and the call to action. So make it clear that your website is the only place to purchase this, so there's no confusions or no distractions. Let them know that they won't find it on Amazon or eBay. If your stuff is on there, then don't lie to them, obviously. But if your product is really only available on your website, then make sure to let them know it is only available on our website, so that way they don't click out, they don't go looking online to find a cheaper version of it. They'll just take your word for it, and they will buy it directly from the advertorial that you have them on. And then whenever appropriate, add urgency, scarcity, and any kind of discount. So let them know if there is limited stock, check availability because we might be out, or get 40% off today, are all things that you can add in towards the end to add that scarcity, that urgency, to really get them to go ahead and pull the trigger and go ahead and buy. And with a big call to action button, this is pretty common practice, but just have a big button down there that says check availability, has the right call to action that really gets them to go ahead and move forward. Make sure that it's not something that's really easy for them to just kind of glaze over and ignore. Make sure that it's a big button at the bottom that lets them know, hey, this is your last opportunity to go ahead and buy on this page. And then one of the optional things that you can do that quite a few advertorials these days are using is below that last call to action, they just have a row of kind of like Facebook reviews, but they're not actually Facebook reviews. They just look like people putting up comments from Facebook on the product. So it's optional. You don't have to use it. A lot of advertorials that are scaling really well, go ahead and use it. But if that's not something you want to do, it's totally fine. You can still have pretty high conversions without having to put the Facebook testimonials at the end. And if we're honest, they're fake. So there's that. But that is the overall structure, guys. Like, it really doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple. If you take some notes and you write down the things that we went over in today's video, and you put it on a piece of paper in front of you, or you put it in a Google Doc or anything like that, the next time you sit down to write an advertorial, it's going to be significantly easier for you because you just took the time to look at it. And as you go through and you start to see more advertorials in the wild that are doing really well, or that companies are running, if you look at it from the perspective of this template and this structure, you're going to recognize how many of them use this exact same template or structure. Now, in between the sections, they might play a little bit in the margins and switch things up. But if you look at it as a big template, they're using the same template that I just gave you guys in today's video. It's no different. So don't make this more complicated than it needs to be. It really can be this simple. Keep it within 800 to 1,500 words. Ruthlessly edit it. Cut out anything that doesn't make sense, anything that doesn't add. Make sure that your headline is strong, that you use a really strong hero image as well that makes them curious and makes them want to keep reading. Don't make it look like an ad. And then one of the last pieces of advice that I would give is make sure that you ruthlessly cut and edit your lead. That's one thing that I see that does hold a lot of advertorials back, is the lead just really drags on for way too long. So usually you're not going to want to have the lead be longer than like 250, 300 words maybe. And sometimes it can be really a way shorter than that. So I wrote one not that long ago. The lead was 75 words because we just want to drop them right into the unique mechanism of the solution. So ruthlessly edit your lead to make sure that there's no fluff. It's to the point. It's really highly engaging to get people into the next section after the lead. We don't want them to sit around and read. We want them to get into the actual really interesting part of it all, where we reveal the solution, we reveal the product, and we start telling them about how it's going to make their life different and better. So I hope today's video has helped you guys significantly. If you have any questions about the template or about advertorials or mini VSLs or anything along those lines, go ahead and leave a comment below. And obviously I will get back to you as soon as possible. Take care and have a great rest of your day. Adios.